So guys, it's very good to see you, but because I haven't been streaming for quite some time, I'm gonna throw in the intro for a second and then we're gonna start with the video. So let's go guys, with your intro. I'll be right back in a second.
Describing an underwater UFO as large as a football field, moving at hundreds of miles per hour underwater.
Have you met with people with direct knowledge or have direct knowledge yourself of non-human origin craft?
Yes, I personally interviewed those individuals.
Do we have the bodies of the pilots who piloted this craft?
Biologics came with some of these recoveries. Yeah.
Aliens exist and President Trump knows about it.
But the United States and Israel have been in contact with a group of aliens for years.
I'd go to the moon in a nanosecond. The problem is we don't have the technology to do that anymore. We used to, but we destroyed that technology.
We are not all to be traced back to one blob of germplasm.
And the implant is finally removed.
There's no evidence how the object got inside the body.
Can you comment on the drones?
Our military knows where they took off from. Something strange is going on. For some reason, they don't want to tell the people.
What storm, Mr. President?
You'll find out.
So here we are guys. Now finally, man, it's been a while. I didn't manage, sadly, to you know, produce videos in advance to give you some content. During the time I basically had holidays. I went to France and I was bouldering outside, man. That's the sport I'm doing, and it was great. It was great. Fingers are a bit fucked up though, gotta say. So sadly, wasn't as good of a session as I was hoping it to be, but I can learn. You know, gotta adjust my training because I'm giving it always 110%, so my fingers, they don't have too much rest. But anyways, man, it's so good to be back, and lots of stuff was happening, and we had the UFO files, at least a part of it, from our beloved President Donald Trump, and I mean, it was basically at least what I was expecting, nothing major, you know, all those typical weird black and white military cam videos of something that people claim to be a flare or something in the air where you can see a parachute flying by and all that stuff. So I feel like, you know, it's nothing crazy for now. We will see though. Maybe, as always, it's gonna be a nothing burger. Maybe not. I think Tim Burchett was basically saying that it's gonna be, the next drops are going to be something definitely crazier. I'm not sure if this is going to be the case. As I said, we have to wait and see and find out. But he says this is completely mind-blowing. And I was listening to the Joe Rogan episode of Tim Burchett, man. It was funny. I haven't listened to much of him till this point, but he's a funny guy. Like, for me, it's this stereotype American, you know. Great guy though, great guy. Like, he seems to be very authentic to me. I know he also gets a lot of BS, but like, who is not getting hate at the moment? Almost everyone. So yeah, I hope you are doing well, man. If you're here, I really much welcome you to the stream, and I'm very happy that you're around, man. It's very good to see you guys. So I would say we're gonna start, and I have to say we're gonna take a look today at the video of the duck journalist and Joseph Farrell, and it's gonna be amazing. The only thing I'm missing at the moment is the video. Oh, not the video. My technique is letting me down, man. Give me 1 second, guys. I'm just gonna see where's the chat video? Where's the chat? Where is the chat? Because I don't see a chat. I don't know why. Then also I wanted to start the stream and everything was not working. It seemed to work, but then it was gone. So here we have the chat. There we go. So yeah, man. Dark Journalist and Joseph Farrell. In case you don't know them, great guys, great guys. I've seen their stuff for quite a time, but I mean, I would say, you know, the thumbnails of Dark Journalists are not like super appealing to me. This was one reason why I never really clicked on the videos of him, but till recently, when I was listening to a live stream of him and like talking about Jesse Michaels and, you know, the connections to Peter Thiel and stuff like that, I was like, dude, this guy is super, super nice to listen to, and he's digging very deep. He's not biased in any way, like he's not looking for fame in any way. So if you really try to look for, I would say, unbiased info, go to Dark Journalist. And also I feel like those episodes with Joseph Farrell, the author of a lot of books on, you know, especially Nazi technology, The Bell, you probably know about The Bell. It's amazing. At the moment I have other books to read, but I'm definitely gonna buy books of that guy and give it a read, because he connects all the dots and has a lot of info about where this is coming from. And I felt like it's super hard to get credible info on the Nazi Bell and stuff like that, because usually it's just, yeah, very, very superficial info that's not really giving you anything. So today, yeah, man, it's gonna be about the city of Huntsville, Alabama, and the connection to this Nazi work that was going on there, and also the missing scientists. And yeah, man, I would say we're just gonna hop right into it. And yeah, if you like, hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see more like that. And I would say we're just gonna start, guys. Here we go.
Hello everyone, this is Dark Journalist. Tonight I have a special interview for you with Oxford scholar Dr. Joseph Farrell. Now, we've taken the missing UFO scientist story all the way up to the White House, who recently released some UFO file documents. Tonight with Dr. Farrell, we'll go even deeper to the role that Rocket City, Huntsville, Alabama, the new home for Space Command, plays in all of this. Please join us now. You can't be behind that curve. You have to be ahead of it. So what's coming in relation to the UFO file and the threats that they've been dangling out there when they were rolling out threats during this whole period, during COVID, when people were locked into their homes and had to be on the internet or watching TV, whatever it was, they started to roll out all of this TTSA junk with the UFO threat thing through Fox and all the rest of it, showing the Tic Tac, which was highly questionable in terms of UFO footage, in my opinion, by a long shot, and also had been around since 2007. It had already been floated on YouTube in 2007. So they're not even good releases. They just expect, as Alan Dulles did back in the CIA days, saying, don't worry, the American public doesn't read. Well, some of us do, and we know how to study this thing. The danger is being behind the curve, because when you're in the soup, like with COVID, then you're really in it. And I would say the missing scientists are the canary in the coal mine around the UFO subject, just like the missing and dead holistic doctors were the canary in the coal mine around the COVID op. And once you're in it, forget it. There's all kinds of things that are taking place. There's lockdowns, you know, there's things you can't do. You're closing restaurants. There are all sorts of things that go on that impact society. You can't wait till you're in the soup. And this is something that I think many of your listeners have learned over the years. You have to be ahead of that curve. And one of the things we've been able to do on my show is be able to be ahead of the subject, so that people coming to me now are like, oh yeah, you know, I remember when you were talking about this 5 years ago. Now they're rolling it out, and it seems like a dream that they're rolling it out with the threat. And they're even having people from NORAD and the continuity of government program starting to talk.
And we were able to predict it all, which, as we see the pre-programming. All right, Dark Journalist joins us. Written for the Wall Street Journal, you name it, author, top filmmaker.
Dude, I gotta say again, dude, Alex Jones' voice is like, he sounds like a Japanese evil villain. Like, you know, it's like, bro, for me it's really hard to listen to him, I gotta say. It's not the most pleasant voice.
Award-winning darkjournalist.com, Daniel List, Dark Journalist on X. I wanted to get him on because he popped in for 20 minutes yesterday, but he has more time to absorb this data dump. Michikaku and others are on Fox saying the biggest thing ever, full disclosure is coming. You know, to me, it was a nothing burger, a bunch of old videos, a few new ones, Tic Tacs, some new documents that were interesting, a shot of a stretcher with a body bag on it. Is there an alien in there? So Daniel List, a lot to unpack here. Great to have you since we talked 24 hours ago. What do we know now?
And also I want to say, I know my eyes are super red. It looks like I was smoking a really good one. But seriously, I'm just very tired. Because here it's 9 a.m. and haven't slept well, so just to let you know.
Fantastic to be here, Alex. And I'll tell you this, you're right on the money with this, because what's going on is they released stuff that basically is the dividing line between people who knew anything about the UFO file and people who knew nothing about it. And the people who knew nothing about it thought it was a release. But in fact, it is very, very dominated by stuff that's already been in the public domain. The videos they released were, some of them were provably false, and they did that on purpose. They're leaving this wide open, but they were able to create the buzz while not actually giving the public anything discernible in the way of real links back to the past. What I noticed was a big emphasis in there was this Apollo 17, the sightings that they had on Apollo 17, and I put up some posts that we'll look at later. But the deal is this: immediately after that, Jared Isaacman came out and started talking about how the last time we were on the moon was Apollo 17. So the coordinating here with NASA, and NASA, of course, holds the largest bag, the entire tranche of the UFO file images from the satellites and all the rest of it, along with the National Reconnaissance Office. That's not the stuff that we got to see in the releases that were going on there. And it's very interesting because one of the things that the Trump administration did is they took Victory Day from World War II, and they used that as the day for this non-UFO disclosure release day. But certainly that's, you know, again, attaching the war aspect to the UFO aspect is not good. When they did the Department of War and they said war.gov/UFO to get all the documents, that wasn't good. So, you know, they're attaching this war idea to the alien file and to the UFO file aspect. That's where the UFO threat comes in, the total opposite of real disclosure. Real disclosure would show that the CIA, the NRO, and the NGA have been holding back these files and manipulating them, moving them through offices in the United States government so that the public could never get at them through normal journalistic, you know, inquiries and the types of things you would do, like FOIAs and all the rest of it. So we're in a very squeezed.
This is very true, because I also watch this very, very closely. I watch you guys. Also like Anna Luna and, you know, all these guys, they're pushing pretty much this narrative of, and not everyone, like Timbershed, for example, is not really pushing it that much in terms of aliens are demons and they're gonna be a threat and you shouldn't trust aliens because aliens are just demons, basically. That's what Jesus warned us of, you know, like it's in the Bible and they're just gonna deceive us and there's only God and the Lord and you, bro. Relax, man. It's, you know, and you gotta read the Book of Enoch and all that stuff. Gotta say, it is interesting to read, but we shouldn't go into this direction of, yeah, just deception and we are the only real creation of God himself, and it's, don't be that guy. Yeah, I don't like it. I'm not falling into that narrative trap, which is also where Peter Thiel comes in and Jesse Michaels and all that stuff. And I gotta say, I gotta address this quickly because it is weird to me. And because I listened, I think the last stream I did before I went to holidays was actually the video about Jesse Michaels. Not about Jesse Michaels, but from Jesse Michaels, where he was talking about the missing scientists. And this is where the Dark Journalist came in. And then actually, and it's sad that I haven't seen it before, because after I had that stream, I actually came across the live stream of Dark Journalist, and he was actually like calling out Jesse Michaels because he basically stole the information and the research of, well, not stole, but like he kind of copied the information that Dark Journalist was digging out and, you know, basically told Grok, yeah, switch up the info, make it sound a little bit that as if it is from my research, and as, yeah, just switch it up basically so it sounds different, but in the end, the essence is the same. And the thing is that he's not giving credit, which is kind of weird. And then he's super connected to Peter Thiel. And of course, he's always like, yeah. I mean, yeah, I worked for him, but it's nothing about it, you know. I just worked for him. So a lot of people are very fine with that. But we all know in what kind of world we're living in. And then we have Peter Thiel, you know, like touring and having like a conference and talking about like the Antichrist. And dude, Peter Thiel is super sus. If you haven't dug into Peter Thiel, I can recommend you to watch some videos about him. That guy is hella weird. Again, coming from Germany, not again, but I'm saying again because we have all these weird big families coming out of Germany and working in very, very interesting places through his career, you can say, and then ending up competing with Elon Musk. And it's this super transhumanistic guy that has this big vision of what humans should become. I just wanted to say that. And this is also, there are some people which are just trying to get people with their mind, like get into a certain narrative, to kind of, it's probably going to be this. They kind of try to be neutral and not biased, but in a way they really are. And Dark Journalist is not, so I really appreciate Dark Journalist for his work, man. Joseph Farrell as well. So, enough talking from my side, I'm sorry. Let's continue.
Situation where Trump is trying to now retain that UFO file back under the executive branch, but is prevented from doing it because the hold of those agencies, especially the Central Intelligence Agency, is beyond. This is something many presidents realized once they got in the door. The CIA holds that power. And what do you do to get it back? You move in different ways to move the power back under executive control. In the case of the UFO file, you have another group working between the aerospace defense contractors and the Central Intelligence Agency. And we have to remember certain things, that there may be agencies that have been created out of the black budget that we, the public, don't know anything about.
Yeah, boy.
This is the core aspect, really, because we had the National Reconnaissance Office created in 1963, actually under the JFK administration. We didn't find out about it until 3 decades later. So the question is, what is the agency that's operating now that is managing the UFO file and this disclosure while preparing the public for this UFO threat? And we don't even know the name of the agency. Well, we need to get to who that agency is. And the way I've identified it is through the X-Protect group and the people and the sources in the background. The thing with X-Protect is you never get to see the members up front. You're not going to see them in front of a microphone, but you can see the people that they push up to the microphones. And most often those people are counterintelligence people promoting the UFO threat that we need to fight back against. Now, Trump was very honest. One of the things when he was talking about the Golden Dome and saying, well, this is Star Wars 2. In fact, this is SDI that Reagan wanted to do, which was a gigantic missile defense system in the 1980s. And then supposedly when the Cold War happened, that all went away. Well, no, it went underground, and this is what took place. The SDI program continued on, and now Trump is saying we have the technology because you've invested in it in the public, after all, for the past 4 decades, and we could fight off the incoming alien invasion with the $300 billion boondoggle of the Golden Dome.
And I'm so sorry, guys. I'm always making the same mistake because I'm waking up, drinking some coffee, which is making me run to the toilet. So I gotta be back in 1 second, and then I see you in a second. So don't leave. I'll be back in a second. So let's continue. I'm so sorry.
Now you can say there might even be an argument for the Golden Dome. I'm not saying it's even, a project that shouldn't happen, but it should be very clear what it is. That is a UFO defense grid. No question about it. And even Trump, as I said, has put this across.
Oh yeah.
Joseph, it's fantastic to have you back.
Thanks for having me back.
I can't believe we've covered more in the pre-interview than the interview.
My boy cracking up. No, but I really like the man. Great guys, I swear. Great guys.
Oh,
There's
if
so many
people
things
could only know. Yeah, go ahead.
We have so many things going on. And I have to say, every headline after headline, I keep thinking it's right up Farrell's alley. It's right up your alley.
And if it is, Daniel, the world really is going to hell in a handbasket. Given all the weird stuff I write about. These people are tripping.
You know it. Next, you're going to have, Adam Schiff coming out and saying the cosmic war is on. Congressman Schiff.
Oh, please, no.
Oh, boy.
I don't need endorsements from that crowd.
It's going to happen, man. It's going to happen at some point.
Nancy Pelosi, special guest, Ancient Aliens.
No.
So you get these Democrats.
No.
We have these Democrats, these Republicans now, and they want to talk about their weird version of UFOs, Joseph. And
I know.
This set off a whole, so I'll set it up this way. There was a process that was set off by President Trump in February, and we knew this was coming.
Yes.
But it was actually tripped off by Obama, who was sitting in a podcast and said, well, there are aliens, but they aren't at Area 51. Very strange thing for him to say. Well, Trump gets unnerved by that. He had apparently a speech ready to go out in July about all this. And he said, you know what? I'm going to get in there and I'm releasing all these files. And, this whole thing is coming out. I've instructed the Department of War, hello, Department of Defense, to release all this information and to coordinate with agencies. Right after that, Joseph, General McCaslin disappears, as you well know. And you've done extraordinary work on this. All the work I did on the missing scientist starts getting picked up, believe it or not, folks, by the mainstream media, CNN and Rolling Stone. And they're rolling in all of these things about the coverage that we did on Lorero and all these other cases. And this becomes the missing scientist thing, goes right up to the desk of the president, who comments on it and says, we'll get to the bottom of it. A week and a half later, his FBI director and others start throwing wet water on it and saying, no, we don't think there's a connection and all the rest. But this phase that we're in, May 8th, which is Victory Day, of course, they release this weird version of these UFO files, and they include some, videos and documents. Now, the majority of experts, including like the Black Vault and all these other people who really get into the document side, say, we've seen most of these documents before. We've seen most of these videos before. So this is kind of a non-disclosure disclosure. What is going on in the background there with this whole wave around the UFO side? And then in the background, we hear about the Golden Dome, which is really cover for a UFO defense grid.
Well, to be honest with you, Daniel, if you look at the UFO thing, the Epstein files thing, the missing scientists thing, and this crazy war with Iran, all of it to me is somehow connected. And part of the
I'm just gonna throw in Graham Hancock. Wait, I think I'm bullshitting. Give me 1 sec. Am I bullshitting? Am I right? No, not Graham Hancock. Oh my goodness. I'm always switching that. Dude, who was this guy? Oh my goodness. What is his name? The guy that was recently passing. Oh my goodness. I'm sorry, guys. Not Graham Hancock. I'm always mixing those two guys up. Give me 1 sec. 1 sec. I almost got it. David Wilcock. Oh my goodness. Graham Hancock. David Wilcock. David Wilcock. It's probably gonna be about the time gates. Or well, basically this Project Looking Glass device that is also in the Middle East. That's crazy that they were talking about, or he's talking about, that they had this, or like this whole Iraq war thing was basically because of this Project Looking Glass device to look into the future and stuff, or like portals and shit, you know, that they have in the Middle East and one in America, and it's crazy. And I don't know, man. And then you have these books, you know, talking about time travel. It's always about time travel to me, at least. I mean, I made a couple of videos about it. And then you have the books of Donald Trump from Ingersoll Lockwood. So also talking about like these gates where you can time travel that the little Baron Trump is going to in Russia and stuff to travel back into the past and shit to fix future. Then we have the book The Last President. It is hella weird. So I'm very suspicious not suspicious, I'm very interested in what he has to say. I don't say that it is this, but it's just, you know, kind of odd that there are all those like similarities all the time.
The major connection is a lot of it is being used as distraction.
Oh.
Of course, bro. Of course. I know I'm being very conspirational, but yeah. In the end, it's a lot about distraction, man.
And even in the process of let's pick the Iran war just as an example of what I mean by distraction
and disaster
and total disaster. I mean, you know,
what kind of a war is that? We're going to go in there and blow them up. Then we're going to come back and say they surrendered, and they're going to say we didn't surrender. Yes, they did surrender.
They did surrender. The war is over. No, it's not over. Yeah, we successfully took out their nuclear program, but we need to go back in there and complete it. You know, it just nothing makes
this
any
is
sense.
Making George W. Bush look competent. I mean, how do you do that?
Yes, it's nuclear.
It's very true, though.
Nuclear, indeed.
Yeah, nuclear. But anyway, what I mean by distraction is we've been proffered a bunch of explanations for, and the goalpost and the explanations keep shifting for this Iran thing. And that is part of I think the planned distraction right there. As far as I can tell, this war was really all about de-dollarization, because now everybody else is up the creek without an energy supply, except we can supply you, but you're going to have to pay in dollars. It's about de-dollarization.
Yes.
At least in a major aspect. So I'm looking at all this stuff with the ufology, with the UFO files release, and I'm with you. It's a big nothing burger. We've been here before. We've seen all these films. We've read all these documents. You haven't released anything new. You've not said anything new, and this is coming at a time when we have all of these weird disappearances of scientists. You and I have talked about Dr. Ludero, General McCaslin, and you know,
and all the Huntsville scientists who went missing.
And all the Huntsville.
We're going to get to Huntsville.
We're going to get to Huntsville because I think that's a key part of this mystery. But just look at McCaslin for a minute here. How in the name of sense are you so lax in security that you essentially allow a general, it appears to me, to disappear himself?
Yes.
Specifically a general with the access to classified information that he had.
Mm-hmm.
And if he did disappear himself, then why aren't you able to find him? As far as I recall, in those classified programs, the government chips you.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Did he burrow the chip out? Did he have it surgically removed? And if
dude, this is like one of the I wonder if there's going to be a movie about that case at some point in the future. If things will turn out to be whatever, you know, it is going to be, there will be crazy movies about that, and the movie will probably not give credit to what really happened, man. It's this whole story with all these missing scientists is so weird. I swear. I'm really wondering what is going on there.
If he didn't remove himself from the situation and someone else did, that's an even worse security nightmare. So my first problem here is where's the security and why is it stripped?
Yes.
You know, and when we say security stripping, I'm thinking, okay, security was stripped around Charlie Kirk.
Mm-hmm.
Security was stripped around President Trump.
Yes.
You know, so we're looking at
you can take that pattern all the way back to the JFK.
Which is why I'm sometimes trying to think this is all scripted. In a way. Not saying that people don't die, but at least that it's on purpose, of course, for whatever reason.
Assassination.
All the way back to the JFK. Yeah. Well, for that matter, all the way back to Abraham Lincoln.
Yes.
So, you know, we're looking at these patterns, and all of this makes no sense. And in the middle of all this, we've got all these missing scientists. Luterero, I think, being the overlooked key component here, because what was Lutero's specialty? Plasma, folks.
Yes. Yes. And you and I did something very early on Luterero and the strangeness. And this wasn't in his bio. This is what's so interesting. Mm-hmm. I saw this funeral kind of tribute, and they said Dr. Luterero did so love his neutron star merger research. And we touched on it just briefly, but that idea of the kind of black hole research and just taking a little bit of that and recreating it in a lab represents a huge energy overhaul. And I mean, it could literally revolutionize what we conceive of as energy production.
Well, this is the key missing component here. And I mentioned this in our private run-up before we began the recording, and I want to do so again because I think it's deeply connected to the pattern of the Huntsville missing Huntsville period. You know, let's add the missing scientists, but it's Huntsville period.
Yeah.
I have a blog coming up this week about Eric Weinstein, the mathematician and physicist that, you know, you've seen interviewed in various places. Yes. And he makes a point in an article that I reference in the blog. And I reference the article precisely because it's Weinstein that I want to draw attention to. Weinstein makes the point that what's missing in ufology is the physics. Mm-hmm. And what does he mean by that? Well, he means by that we can have all the engineers and all the materials scientists and so on that we want, but until you can explain the physics behind these things, you've got nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Mm. And I thought that is a very prescient comment to make, particularly in the context of the missing scientists, some of whom are scientists. Dr. Luterero. Okay?
Yes.
He's the genuine article, and his specialty happens to be in a field that I think is intimately related to the UFO.
Yes.
We have other cases of scientists that we don't hear much about, but one of the things that Weinstein is pointing out is, okay, and let's remember what Weinstein's specialty is. He's involved in higher dimensional mathematics. He's trying to get to a higher dimensional mathematical expression of a unified field theory. You know, this is a game that's been going on since Albert Einstein and general relativity and Kaluza-Klein and Vaclav-Blavatsky and all of these physicists that have been involved in higher dimensional mathematical unified field theories. It's been going on for at least the past 9 decades to, a couple decades before World War II. So it's a long quest. And Weinstein is again drawing attention to the fact that we don't yet have the physics work. And I took that as kind of a jumping off point because we've had little indicators, Daniel. We've had indicators. We have those stories about Ben Rich, which to me, the former director of the Lockheed Skunk Works,
yes.
To me, those stories are saying the same thing. This is what I'm really getting at here. Those stories about Ben Rich are saying the same thing that Eric Weinstein is saying. And that means that the stories, to me, have some credence. They're not just stories. We now have a credentialed mathematician that is saying pretty much the same thing that those stories that Ben Rich are told about Ben Rich is saying. One of them is, you recall, that Ben Rich allegedly said, we found an error in the equations.
Right.
And now we can take ET home.
Right.
And you know me. I think, okay, whose equations? About what?
Yes.
And I'm thinking, okay, let's put all these clues together. Missing scientist, Ben Rich, Eric Weinstein. What do we got?
The early fundamentals that they came out with publicly were flawed, maybe intentionally. Yeah.
Maybe maybe intentionally. So I'm thinking, okay, if there's an error in the equations, did Ben Rich sit down and plow through this little known discussion between Einstein and Levi Civita? Maybe that's it. I don't know.
Interesting. Okay.
But what I'm getting at here is everything that I'm telling you about this little known dispute in science is about what? It's about gravity. General relativity is basically Einstein's geometrization of the theory of gravity. That's basically what it is. And Ben Rich is saying, okay, we found the error. Now let's go to another point that I think deals directly with Professor Weinstein's comment and critique that, well, we've got to deal with the physics.
Interesting. Can you bring us into Nazi physics?
Sure.
From there, because I'm interested in that split, because I know that you've said before that the Nazis were like, oh, we're going to throw out relativity and we're going to basically have an open envelope for whatever you want to check out. And so we had Kammler saying to all his scientists, really go out on a limb and find out what this is all about.
Yeah. Kammler set his scientists free from Nazi Party ideology, and that
I just want to add something because I haven't really heard anything about Ben Rich that much, because I'm starting to get into all of this. So, don't hate me. But what he was actually saying, so Ben Rich, the guy that was actually working at Lockheed Martin Skunk Works for quite some time, till 1991, from 75, I think, which is quite some time. And he was actually saying at a presentation in 1993, Ben Rich reportedly stated, we already have the means to travel among the stars, but these technologies are locked up in black projects, and it would take an act of God to ever get them out to benefit humanity. Dude, this is a crazy thing to say. Wow, that's interesting. And then he's also frequently quoted as saying, we now have the technology to take ET home. Damn, that's good to know, man.
Included the Nazi Party proscription against quote-unquote Jewish physics, meaning relativity. All right. You get all of these very interesting papers being published in the interwar period, including several papers by Albert Einstein on various approaches to unified field theories. I talk about these in some of my books. One of them being distant parallelism, another one being torsion-based unified field theories. You've got Kaluza-Klein, and on we go. Well, the interesting thing about many of these theories is precisely the fact that they do have some sort of connection to torsion in some form or fashion. And then on top of it all, we've got Walter Gerlach, the Nazi physicist that's actually in charge of not only their atom bomb project, but he's also kind of the guy that's ultimately sitting on top of the Bell project. Why? Well,
Here we
Walter
go.
Gerlach is not a nuclear physicist in the standard sense at all. His real interest prior to the war and during the war is gravity and rotating systems. Okay, this is why he's involved, with the Stern-Gerlach experiment, trying to figure out the spin moment of particles before the war. So, in other words, this is his whole thing.
And so you have that fundamental working in 1940s Germany. You fast forward to December 65 when the Kecksburg crash happens.
Yeah.
You've got 20 years of development in between.
You've got 20 years of development, and there's a fundamental thing that connects the two. In the Nazi Bells case, according to Witkowski, again, using his detail, the bell, when it was tested underground, it was housed in a facility that was lined with ceramic brick and rubber mats. And after each test, the rubber mats had to be taken out and burned, and the whole room scrubbed down. Okay.
So this is that gamma effect again.
Bingo.
Yeah.
Ceramic brick. The Kecksburg bell, according to what's the guy's name? Not Kenneth Arnold. The guy in Pennsylvania that is Stan Gordon.
Oh, yeah.
That has investigated the Kecksburg bell. Well, he pursued the story all the way up to the bell having been, or the Kecksburg acorn having been withdrawn from Kecksburg and apparently driven to Wright-Patterson Air Base because he interviewed a man by the name of Myron who was working in a local construction company, and the air base calls up the construction company and asks for a delivery of about 3,000 ceramic bricks.
This is like the Roswell, give me the child.
Dude, there's already so much stuff I have to look into just from those few minutes. The Kecksburg bell. I didn't even know about the Kecksburg bell. So another thing we can look into, man. This is why I love these guys so much. But it seems to be, yeah, the picture they were blending in seems to be, that this Kecksburg bell. So that thing from before. No. So, yeah. Well, you don't really see it, but I think you get what I mean. That thing down there. Yeah. All right.
Coffin.
Yep. Bingo.
Story.
So the guy delivers the ceramic bricks, and he's told to deliver them to a certain hangar, and he goes in the hangar, and behind a silk screen, he sees this acorn-shaped object. So, you know, and that's, by the way, that's on the cover of my SS Brotherhood of the Bell book.
Right.
So it's Stan Gordon's idea. So the details, again, suggest that there's something going on in North America that has to do with the Nazi bell.
Yeah.
The bad news is the Kecksburg acorn was tracked on its flight path, and I reproduced this little map in SS Brotherhood of the Bell. It was tracked from Canada, from British Columbia, down across the upper Midwestern Plains states, down over Ohio. And in Ohio, it apparently stops for a very short period, adjusts course, and then turns, makes an acute angle turn into Pennsylvania, where it crashes outside of Kecksburg.
Incredible. And so totally intelligent design,
and
intelligence operated. Yeah.
And our military is there within 2 hours to pick the thing up and cart it away.
Yeah. They know the experiment's gone wrong.
They know the experiment. They know something. It's either gone wrong or they took over control or something.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
When you say it comes in from Canada, where do you think its origin?
British Columbia.
Okay.
This is the part of the story I haven't talked about ever publicly because I have not been able to verify any of it. But there are stories coming out of British Columbia. I know the town. Okay.
So do they say that this bell thing was actually flying? Oh my god, bro. Oh my god, alright, now I got it. So they actually say that this bell was actually... The path he was referring to is about that thing flying and then crashing at a point? Damn, dude.
I'm not going to say what it is, nor where it is. But
you're saying there's German scientists up there.
There are German communities in.
Dude, Germans are everywhere. I mean, I'm from Germany, but Bruder, the Germans are everywhere, man.
British Columbia.
And this is what I mean with Peter Thiel, right? Peter Thiel is German. The Rothschilds, they're German. Like a lot of people, they speak German. Vladimir Putin, he speaks German. It's like, what is the part of Germany in this world, man?
There are stories, they're rare, and you have to dig for them in the UFO lore. But there are stories about things going on in the skies at night in British Columbia, and there just happen to be a lot of Germans living nearby. Yeah,
incredible. Well, Joseph, that's fascinating. When you get to the that bit about Kecksburg, I just want to say the first people on the scene are average townspeople.
Yes,
and they go up close to it and they say it's glowing, and it seems like it's almost spitting fire or something like that. And they see these hieroglyphs on it. I go back again to the Roswell case and the hieroglyphs on the Roswell craft. And it's interesting because, again, you have there's something that occurs which is unplanned for, and they have to roll in the cover-up aspect and get rid of it. But it lands there. It's in the heart of the public. When you see, you did a whole thing dedicated to the Nazi involvement in the Roswell case, but the group that you see still operating, because it's 2 years after the end of the war, the group that you see operating this advanced craft, if it's not extraterrestrial and it's this Nazi technology taken to the next degree, where do you think they're operating from?
Now or then?
Then, in say 47 when they crashed the Roswell.
Well, in 47, there are several centers that they're operating from. One would be in and around El Paso, Texas, and Ciudad Juarez and over the border in Mexico. They're certainly operating throughout the Andean chain from Ecuador all the way down to Chile. They're certainly present in Argentina, particularly around Patagonia and Tierra del Fuego. They're certainly present in places inside of Brazil, Paraguay, Bolivia, to a lesser extent, Uruguay.
Which is also the area where they all went to, right? The Nazis, after the war and stuff. It's like where they all went. And I mean, there's not much going on there, so you have a lot of space. It's quite quiet there, not very busy place.
Basically, the only South American countries that you would not find them in huge numbers would be Colombia and Venezuela.
Crazy.
They're operating in Taiwan.
It's interesting.
Right. They are operating in Indochina. That's key.
Dude.
They are operating in Spain.
Everywhere, basically.
Austria, especially in and around Vienna.
Mm-hmm.
They are operating in southern Sweden, in and around Göteborg and
I know I'm interrupting a lot, but it is so interesting because I do have to say that he, like Joseph Farrell, also said that I think all this vril, or like, I do say it in English, but it's actually vril, like the German thing that this typical German flying saucers that we have these blueprints of, which are basically not really good blueprints. Joseph Farrell said that these are actually from like just guys basically after the war, quite late, made by them around Vienna, or that they were living in Vienna or around Vienna. And that he actually is not really believing in this story of that the Germans had this super advanced vril flying saucer things that they flew to Antarctica and all that stuff. So this is why I find him very interesting and very, very credible, because he's just looking for the info that we can actually find and is kind of credible, because we have a lot of, different things that kind of add on to each other, which are giving us this bigger picture that is making sense what we are looking at. And this whole Antarctica story, he says, is very, very far-fetched. And this is why I like him, because the Sibel thing, there are actually quite some things that give this story, you know, quite some credibility. But that he makes, you know, has this cut of, I think this is legit, and this is where it's too far-fetched and just like some imagination BS, you know. Yeah, man. So just wanted to add that.
Malmen. In other words, places in Sweden that are closely connected to the Swedish armaments industry, Bofors.
Oh yes,
so,
yes. You have the weird ghost rockets.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. That's even pre-Roswell.
Yeah, that's definitely pre-Roswell. So those are the places they're operating from. And I would add to that, in the United States, in addition to El Paso, they're in places like Huntsville. You know, we haven't even got there yet, but they're in Huntsville.
Right. This is how we're going to go directly.
This is how we're getting there
into Rocket City. Yeah.
But yeah, they're definitely operating in these places, and it's not as if the Americans aren't unaware that something's going on right under their noses, because Linda Hunt published that wonderful book where she pointed out that U.S. Army counterintelligence was looking at all this, you know, all these Nazis, and what they were doing, and came to the conclusion, well, they've duplicated their entire chain of command and taken positions in the chain of command that were essentially duplicating what they were doing inside of Nazi Germany. We're just paying for it.
That's incredible. Joseph, when we take the Nazis over here, we have different locations for them. So we have the Paperclip program. There's a gigantic connection with Paperclip and some of the people who show up later around things like the Kennedy assassination, etc., like John McCloy and others. But when we take them, the excuse supposedly for bringing...
Man, Joseph Farrell. Dude, the way he just like... I don't know if you watched wrestling back in the day. Do you know Festus? Dude, he's basically just like Festus, man. I just have to throw that in. Give me 1 second, but it's so funny. Festus, WWE legend. Probably know him, right? Look at Festus. I'm sorry, Joseph. It's just funny, man. In a good way, though. I love you, bro.
Them to Huntsville is, it's the climate they're familiar with. Why do they take them to Huntsville, and why does Huntsville become Rocket City? And of course, we know that right now, Space Command under the Trump administration, the first Trump administration, tried to move it from Colorado to Huntsville and failed. But now they did it again, and here we go. It's on. They're moving the Space Command directly from Colorado into Huntsville, Alabama. Why Huntsville, and what's gone on there? What's the connection with the Paperclip origins of this story?
Well, Daniel,
the boy's cracking up, bro.
How's that for an opener? There you go.
I couldn't have put it better myself. Off my hat. Is there a connection that connects all of that? Space Command. Why Huntsville? Yes, there is. UFOs. Paperclip Nazis. The answer to all 5 of those questions, Daniel, is 2 words. Kurt Davis.
Wow.
Davis. Yeah. Dr. Kurt Davis was a Paperclip Nazi.
All right.
He was a very close associate of Dr. von Braun, because you can look at photographs.
Von Braun, one of the founders of NASA. Which is claiming that at some point, a group called Elon will, basically be on Mars and colonize Mars. Just wanted to throw that in.
Of Kennedy and von Braun Curtis LeMay.
Yes.
That era, and very oftentimes the scientist that's sitting next to Dr. von Braun, who has a big Menschura scar running down his face, is Dr. Kurt Davis.
Yes.
Okay, one of the Paperclip Nazis. Mm-hmm. Now here's the problem with Dr. Davis. If you don't know his resume, let's tick off a few interesting points.
Yes, absolutely. Please
on the curriculum vitae.
Give it to me, Joseph.
Dr. Davis was, first of all, not a rocket scientist at all. His specialty was, here it comes, folks, high voltage pressure and measurement, and plasma. That's the guy's specialty.
Dude, plasma. I'm telling you, plasma is the key. Plasma is everything. If you want to hear something interesting, go to Jay Anderson's channel, scroll to the bottom, really to the bottom, and then look at the series of Mr. X. Actually, I think one of his, like the first episode, is insanely interesting, talking about the Sapphire project. Dude, I didn't even know about it. Plasma, there's so much stuff to discover. Self-organizing plasma is insane. It is insane. Not much to add. Just look it up. You won't regret it, man.
What is he doing in Rocket City?
You might be asking yourself, in Rocket City, much less as, here comes a little second point on the curriculum vitae to tick off. He was the senior flight director at Cape Canaveral during all of Project Apollo. He, in other words, is the guy pulling all the shots for the moon landings.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
He's right in the heart of it.
He's not in the heart of it. He's planning it. He's coordinating it.
Amazing.
So we've got a Nazi. And by the way, when I say Nazi, I'm not saying Nazi like Werner von Braun Nazi. Not a good Nazi.
Right, yeah.
Because Dr. Davis had been denounced by United States Army counterintelligence in here comes that wonderful year, 47.
Right.
For having been involved in denouncing a colleague of his in 1942 to the Gestapo.
That's right.
Well, who's the
Gestapo.
colleague he denounced to the Gestapo? And why is the United States Army counterintelligence reopening the case? Well, maybe this has something to do with it. Tick off third and fourth points on the curriculum vitae of Dr. Davis. The fellow he denounced to the Gestapo was Richard Kramer. And nothing came of the case because a physicist by the name of Dr. Abraham Azau, who, odd name for a Nazi physicist involved in secret research to have, wrote a letter to the Gestapo demanding the release of Dr. Kramer. On the letterhead of the Allgemeine Elektrizitätsgesellschaft, and with the authorization of Reichsmarshal Hermann Goering. In other words, this is not your average scientist you fellows in the Gestapo are arresting here.
Right. The connections go all the way up to Goering.
Die Allgemeine Elektrizitätsgesellschaft. This is insanely German.
All people.
Wow.
And by the way,
dude, my boy Joseph is he's just cracking up, bro. I love it so much. Really have to focus not to laugh too much because my boy is he's having a good time, man. He's having a good time. But so do I. So do I. And I hope you too.
That document that says Dr. Kramer is working on projects that are kriegsentscheidend.
Oh, yeah.
Decisive for the war.
Oh, right.
And that's the only place, as Witkowski points out, he's got this document in his book. That's the only place in all of the literature
Look at that.
Where the Nazis used that technical term in a classified project. In other words, the project is so highly classified, way beyond their atom bomb.
That's interesting.
So in other words, it's like that Dr. Sarbacher in the UFO literature, who's well known for, and the Canadian William, what's his name?
Wilbur Smith.
Smith, that said that Sarbacher told him that the UFO subject is classified higher than the hydrogen.
Right.
So here again, we have the same phenomenon, the same pattern. So Kramer was denounced by Davis to the Gestapo. And Kramer is working for a project that's decisive for the war, for the Allgemeine Elektrizitätsgesellschaft. In other words, he's working on the Bell, because that's the company that built the Bell.
Do you think that Davis is trying to eliminate the competition there?
It could be. But what that also indicates is Davis is involved in the Bell project.
Oh, right.
Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah. Okay, got it.
Ding, ding, ding.
He's on the Bell. Yes.
He's on the Bell.
Man, the Bell.
Kramer's on the Bell. And now for the final little thing in the Dr. Davis.
Dude, I find it so nice that there's actually so much information on the Bell, because for a long time I always thought this is just BS. Like, every time I asked someone, give me credible source of something, no one had anything. I couldn't find something. I was also like, looking, Googling, even asking AI sometimes, and like even AI wasn't able to give me proper information. Never read something about Joseph Farrell till I really dug into it. After my talk, I gotta say, with Jay Anderson, man, dude, I was looking up so many things. And this is where I ended up also at Dark Journalist Joseph Farrell. So I'm so glad I had this talk with him. I feel like really this opened up so many things. And it was a good starting point for me to get into a lot of, specific, branches of this whole conversation. There's just way too much stuff going on, and I need to find more time to actually read it and research. So, but this is where we do that.
This curriculum vitae that we can check off is that when he retires, by the way, he lives in Huntsville.
Yes.
Where, by the way, Von Braun also retires to go to work for Fairchild Industries.
Yes, I want to get to Fairchild as well.
It's during that time period that Von Braun gave that wonderful little interview in Time magazine that appeared in that little, little column thing. I remember reading as a kid. Anyway.
Which is absolutely explosive.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
We'll have you recite it from memory here.
Well, I'll try as best as I can. But anyway, Davis ends up in Huntsville, Nevada, in Huntsville, Alabama. And when he retired, just before he retires, for the last, let's say, 3 to 5 years of his career at NASA, guess what he's in charge of?
What?
NASA's UFO desk.
That's it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Ding, ding, ding. Now,
yes.
Add it all together. You've got a Bell scientist who is a plasma physicist, a specialist in high voltage pressure and measurement, that is the senior flight director for Project Apollo, and who is a Nazi.
Yes. He gets us to the moon.
He's got the scar to prove it, and the monocle. He's got all of these credentials, and he ends up in charge of the UFO desk. And then,
I mean, that aspect is almost the most incredible bullet point on that whole list.
Yeah,
because how do you put him in charge of the UFO file at that juncture? It's very unusual.
Well, you don't put him in charge of it if in fact he has had nothing to do with things that aren't related to it.
Yes.
That's my point here.
So he's in Huntsville. So Huntsville is the headquarters for the UFO file director, the head of the desk. Huntsville's the headquarters for Von Braun, who, because of the interview, is kind of booted out of NASA, and they throw him into Fairchild.
Right. Right. And it ends up being head of the Space Command. What better place to put head of Space Command than a nest of Nazis?
Yes. Well, let's talk about that for a moment, because when you get the command from the Trump administration to bring all this right up to modern times. And he says, I'm moving this from Colorado. We also know that there's a continuity of government NORAD piece there with that. So he's saying, no, Alabama, I'm doing this. And he tried, and they rebuffed him heavily in the first term. He comes back and he does it. He gets it done. But then in the middle of all this phase of stories that we're talking about for 2026, where Trump says, I'm putting out the UFO file, Joseph, the scientists who are disappearing that are related to Huntsville become very, very apparent. And in fact, when I was doing the detailing on this, and I started with Amy Eskridge, who died in 2022 after founding the Institute for Exotic Science.
Amy Eskridge, man.
Yes. And what's interesting is her dad was deeply, deeply involved in these projects for NASA.
Yeah.
But what was interesting is as I was going through the different scientists associated with this, and we talked about Ning Li and some others, a scientist working for NASA goes down in a plane with his whole family. This is back in April. This is how recent this is. His whole family, and they were all Hunts.
One sec. You were too fast, bro.
In April. This is how recent this is. His whole family, and they were.
James Moffat plane crash death. Huntsville link brings back Amy Eskridge case and focus after David Wilcock tragedy. Dude, this is so weird, man. So many happenings. And I am still wondering if this David Wilcock thing is also connected in a weird way. Because I don't have any conclusion about what is really happening. A lot of people do say he was kind of tripping out. Some people say he was just a victim of MK Ultra brainwashing, and this is why he was fucked up in his mind. And it's man, there's seriously just way too many things. There's just way too much happening. It's so hard to keep track of things. Didn't even hear of that thing. Man, so many people are dying here. Like we don't know anything really. It is just crazy.
All Huntsville. He was the scientist, and he went down with his family in a plane crash. There are so many links through Huntsville, and I could detail them. But for the point of this, what is the connection here between the original Paperclip taking over of and inventing this rocket city? And Alabama is fantastic. I want to put this on the record. And Huntsville itself is quite remarkable. But I'm talking about it as a focal point of these activities. What is it that you see happening with these groups concentrating on that area in the first place? Basically formulating a secret space headquarters very early on in the game through Paperclip, and now graduated out to a point in 2026 where they're going to be the head of Space Command. And apparently the scientists who were around in Huntsville who had access the same way that McCaslin had access. And I want to mention that one of the Secret Space alumni who did a conference with us, Mark McClandish, he had given a speech in Huntsville only a month before he died under very mysterious circumstances again. So again, we're kind of more aware on this track than we even want to be.
Yeah, man.
Well, look, I think I think several scenarios are possible here, and the problem is we just don't have enough information, at least at this juncture, to make any good prima facie guesses as to which of these scenarios are most likely.
Yeah.
I can see the United States moving the Space Command from Colorado to Huntsville in an effort to keep tabs on whatever's going on there and whoever's really directing it. Or equally plausible, I can see that whoever's really directing it, and I have no difficulty in believing that at least my so-called Nazi or fascist international might still be very influential in doing these types of things, that they might have been the ones behind the move, just to assert raw power. I can see the deaths of some of these scientists as being either messages sent to the rest of them, or punishment for straying too far off the reservation, or as means of keeping mouths shut.
Right.
Or this is one that I think has to be entertained in terms of the types of expertise that each of these missing people have been into, and that is to prevent them from talking to each other.
Oh, right.
And comparing notes. Because in projects like this, what you don't want are people able to compare notes and put it all together.
True.
Interesting.
And
I think, I mean, this is this compartmentalization thing, right? Compartmentalization. I think this is like also when Bob Lazar is talking about S4, or basically everyone that claims to be some kind of scientist that is involved in one of those black projects, that you don't really know what anyone else besides you is doing. Like you almost don't really even know what you are working on, you know? You're just working on one little piece of the puzzle, and you have no idea what someone else is working on. So yeah, this is one way of, you know, keeping people away from knowing what is going on. Yeah, makes totally sense.
And Huntsville, if you're gonna coordinate let's just be very blunt. If you're going to coordinate a worldwide secret space program, places like Huntsville are going to be the places you're going to do it from.
Yes.
Because you're going to have to have a place where there is a collective of expertise able to evaluate analytically various situations as they arise.
Right.
You can't tell me that other countries don't have similar installations and institutions. So in other words, I'm looking at the missing scientists, the Huntsville thing, and all the patterns associated with it as being potentially indicative of any number of scenarios. Many of them saying that the United States is in the process of either losing control or has already lost control and is trying to regain control, and so on.
Interesting. Yeah.
I'm in the regain control camp. Why? Well, to be blunt, the old adage is, well, why haven't we been back to the moon? Well, all of our German rocket scientists are dead.
Oopsie.
We just went back to the moon.
Right.
Well, that's what
on
they say.
whose rocket?
That's what they say.
Yes.
And what nationality is he?
Dude, this is even better CGI than the live stream itself. I swear, dude. Have you seen the video of the Indian moon mission, bro? Dude, they are fucking around with us, man. It's not even funny anymore, man.
And where's he from? And who did he have connections with? So let's go back for a moment to Kurt Davis.
And you got South Africa in the mix immediately.
Oh yeah, you got South Africa in the mix immediately. And let's remember something about South Africa and Israel, because everybody.
I'm sorry, this is the stream of interruption, but do you know who was working in South America as well? Wait, did they say? Wait.
It says that Africa and Israel.
Wait.
And let's remember something about South Africa.
South Africa, exactly, not South America. Peter Thiel was working in South Africa, and also Elon Musk was working in South Africa. So also South Africa is a place that is quiet, where a lot of stuff is happening, let's put it that way.
And Israel, because everybody says that South Africa and Israel got their bomb from us. Well, I think Israel got much of the material for its bomb from us. But the technological know-how, particularly in South Africa's case, didn't come from us. It came from Germany.
Oh, right.
It came from West Germany.
Interesting.
People forget Germany. Before Angela Merkel dismantled their nuclear power plants, Germany was like Japan. It was a turnkey nuclear power. They could produce all the elements and parts for a bomb, and no.
But they fucked us up really bad. Dude, Germany is in such a bad condition. I don't even want to tell you.
Nobody would know it, and they could assemble it in 30 minutes.
Wow.
That's what you're dealing with.
Yeah.
Germany sold the entire nuclear fuel process to Brazil and Argentina in the 1970s. So, this is like it or not, folks.
Yeah.
That's the reality.
Yeah. And they were fattening up their own kind of reserves selling the stuff off.
Yeah. And according to some people, Germany builds the warheads for the French nuclear deterrent. So,
Right. So it's like they're the heart of this.
Yeah, they're the heart of this, like it or not. And by the way, where did Iran buy all their centrifuges from? Ding, ding, ding. You got it. And the same people that sold centrifuge technology to South Africa. Okay, there you go. So that's
very interesting. Yeah.
Well, let's go back to Davis then. After he finally retired from NASA, he became member of the board for that West German firm called OTRAG.
Yes.
Orbital Transport Raketen Aktiengesellschaft, Orbital Transport Rockets Incorporated.
So, and don't you think that OTRAG becomes probably much more important?
Oh, yeah.
Now, looking back on it, than we say with the knowledge we had 10 years ago, it wouldn't.
Oh, absolutely.
All those connections. Yeah.
Absolutely.
The connections are now sort of the 100-pound, 800-pound gorillas out of the closet now.
Well, let's remember what Mikhail Gorbachev said about OTRAG. He was the one that brought OTRAG to everybody's attention in the West. We wouldn't be discussing it now, Daniel, if it hadn't been for Mikhail Gorbachev.
Well, that's interesting. Yeah.
Because otherwise, to listen to the Germans, all OTRAG was a defunct company that was trying to build out cheap rockets for, quick and cheap, easy launch facility technology. Think Elon Musk. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Well, that's all OTRAG was. And
Dude, there's so much German. I just want to let you know how it sounds in German. Orbital Transport- und Raketenaktiengesellschaft. Dude, all those terms are so German. But it's so interesting to hear all of this. I didn't even know that it existed. 1970s into the 1980s. And they were working on alternative rocket systems, propulsion systems, whatever.
Went bankrupt.
SpaceX Part 1.
Yeah. You don't need to worry about it anymore. Don't even think. Well, not according to Mikhail Gorbachev. OTRAG did buy a compound inside of the Congo, and that became, according to Gorbachev, West Germany's Area 51.
Right.
They were working on cruise missiles and bioweapons and so on, which is interesting because, lo and behold, during this Ukrainian war thing, what did we hear talk of? Well, West Germany might or might not sell its cruise missiles to the Ukraine. Wait a minute.
Well, yeah.
I thought West Germany wasn't supposed to have those kinds of things. What are they doing with cruise missiles? So when you factor that in, and Musk's relationship to South Africa, his business ties, his interest in space, and so on. Yeah, I think you're looking at some sort of OTRAG version 2. Paperclip version 3.0,
It's incredible.
And we've got our German rocket scientist again.
Yeah, right.
Go back.
And then we have Peter Thiel, which is also heavily involved into South Africa. And that is now also involved into having his minions out, like, let's say, just your Michaels and pushing certain narratives. It's interesting.
The moon.
Fascinating. Davis and OTRAG. What happened there? They hired him as a consultant.
They hired him on. He became a member of the board, which indicates, in other words, he had a significant stock portfolio or equity interest in the company.
Wow.
So my question is, why would you court Kurt Davis, who is not a rocket scientist, to be part of a company trying to develop cheap rocket transports?
It's very strange. Like the UFO part, it's very strange.
Ding, ding, ding. ding, ding, ding. So that Davis's mere presence in Otrok is what tells me, yeah, Mikhail Gorbachev probably had something going for his intelligence. This was more than just a rocket company.
Yeah, exactly. When does he set off that warning? Is it the 1980s?
I believe it was shortly after Reykjavik.
Yes.
Or before. It was 88 to 89 in that time frame. I don't remember exactly when in terms of the summits that he was holding with Reagan, but it was I do recall, seem to recall that it was before they inked that deal that they signed in, what was it, 89 or 90, somewhere around then.
Yes.
It was before the real final death throes and moans of the Soviet Union, during the perestroika, glasnost
yes.
era. But he did say it.
Which were the first actual nuclear arms reductions, which is quite an accomplishment in that period. Actually, at a certain point, they come out of one of the summits and they say, we discussed the zero options of no nuclear weapons anywhere for either of us, which is still hangs out there in history. But of course, when you get around that period, Joseph, things are leaking there. Something's going on with the UFO file.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's interesting because Gorbachev will say later about Reykjavik, that was the summit. But what's interesting, if you notice, if you go back to the reporting of that day, they'll say, oh, it was the biggest bomb of a summit. Nothing was agreed upon. And it was a disaster. Well, Gorbachev says, no, that's when we sat down and talked.
Yes.
So this is the crucial one in his mind. And that's the one later we find out where they discussed the UFO file.
He said to me, oh, what would you do if the United States were attacked by someone from outer space? Would you help us? I said, no doubt about it. He said, we too.
Yeah, that summit, I'm in agreement with you. I don't think that summit was the failure. I think the significance of that summit to this day has been entirely missed. Entirely missed. And we're seeing real evidence of it now, if you know what to look for. Because neither the United States nor the Soviet Union, or what would become the Russian Federation, neither one of those countries are going to endanger their national security just to have a zero strategic option.
Right.
They're not going to do that. So what that summit always indicated to me is both sides got down to real brass tacks and admitted all the secret stuff that they each had that made all those nuclear ICBMs and missiles obsolescent at best.
Yeah.
At best. Let's remember what has happened since the Reykjavik summit, because that summit, Daniel, again, I think you're right. That summit is the first incident in a timeline of indicators that they have much more in their inventory than they're letting on.
Amazing. Yeah. There's no question about it. And that's 35 years ago.
That's 35 years ago. So let's look at the timeline since then. We have Mr. Trump during his first administration and the...
Before we jump into the timeline, dude, I feel like Bob Lazar and Joe Rogan, man. I gotta jump down the toilet quickly. I'll be back in a second, guys. I'm so sorry, man. Oh man. Too much water, too much coffee in the morning. But I think I'm feeling good now. Okay, let's continue.
Difficulties with Kim Jong-un in North Korea. And we had that public, very, very staged press conference with the American general and the American reporter. And the reporter asks him in a voice clear enough to be heard above the din of the crowd, General, when you say all options are on the table, does that include kinetic weapons? And his answer is yes. Now, kinetic can be interpreted as simply the use of heavy ordnance. In other words, are you going to go to a kinetic option? Are you going to really use munitions? But kinetic can also mean rod of God technology.
Yes.
Around that same time period, we had the explosion at the Tianjin chemical plant outside of Beijing. And I swear to this day, I am not going to be convinced that that was a chemical explosion simply by the signature of the crater left in the ground beneath the plant.
Unbelievable.
The crater is narrow, conical, and deep. Had that been a chemical explosion, even contained inside the building, it would not have had a hollow charge effect like what we see in that crater. It would have been a much shallower crater with a much wider dispersion. That's not what we see.
You think it's a rod of God demonstration?
I think there is a very, very good possibility that that was a rod of God signature that somebody used on that plant.
Wow.
Because the sheer kinetic energy of that, of an impact like that, will create a chemical reaction like that. So that's another indicator. We then had Mr. Trump in both administrations saying, well, we don't even need nuclear weapons. We've got things you wouldn't believe, you know. And he said things like this on more than one occasion.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Then we have Mr. Trump's very weird statement out in California when he went out to announce the creation of the Space Force. We need, and his words, not mine, his, we need another Space Force.
Right.
Whoa.
Yeah.
We already had one.
Right, yeah.
What was the first one? The kind of Space Coast Guard? Now we have to have a Space Navy? You know, what's going on here, Don?
Right.
Yeah, we've had all these indicators. Then let's not forget the Russians. Dmitry Medvedev, to this day, I don't think people get the significance of what he said. 1 month before the Chelyabinsk meteor incident back in, I think, 2011, Dmitry Medvedev got on Russian television and he was talking about the danger of asteroids and that Russia wanted to get the world together to build out a planetary defense system against asteroids. And if we can't get everybody on board, well, we're just going to have to go ahead and do it ourselves.
Right. Yeah.
Okay? And the Russian reporter, very nice, pretty lady, says, well, Mr. Prime Minister, can you tell us, well, how would we take out the asteroids, you know, if there was a threat? And he said, oh, you know, we could use our thermonuclear missiles and use it to blow them up or divert their orbit path. And then he goes on to say, and we've got other ways we could do it.
Yeah.
like what, Dimitri? And then a month later, what happens? You have the Chelyabinsk meteor, which is filmed by Russian cars, because over there you have to, by law, have video cameras in your cars for insurance.
Right.
So this meteor is filmed zipping over Chelyabinsk, a major Russian nuclear city, by the way.
I think I remember that.
In the flight pattern of the meteor, what you see on some of these videos is one of these little orbs again, kind of following along behind. And then the meteor explodes, orb is gone.
Wow.
You know?
Yeah.
So again, there's a something going on here. And then there's one final incident that I'll tick off in this timeline of weird stuff. And again, this is after the Reagan-Gorbachev Reykjavik summit. Okay, all of what I'm saying is after that summit.
Right.
And all of it's indicating they've got something and they ain't telling us.
Mm-hmm.
This final one is, remember the satellite collision about 10 to 12 years ago of the Russian and American satellite?
Very strange.
Russian and American satellites don't collide with each other. Okay. Both countries are fairly competent in being able to keep their satellites from colliding with other satellites. Both countries have the technology to make satellites move and change their orbits.
Mm-hmm.
Now, neither country is admitting to the fact or acknowledging that they diverted their satellites to collide with the other country's satellite.
Mm.
Which means somebody pushed those satellites together and has the technology to do that. Now, maybe it's one of those two countries that did it. Maybe both countries decided to test a commonly held technology. Who knows? But the fact of the incident itself indicates that there's a technology that allowed them to do that, and to do it with, and here's the key point I'm trying to make here. It's not the technology of colliding a satellite. It's the technology of being able to do it with that kind of precision.
Right. Right.
That's a lot of space up there to be colliding something that's 9 feet in diameter.
Remarkable.
Yeah.
Wow. And that's the kind of technology that they're incorporating into the Golden Dome.
Bingo.
Yeah.
It's called target direction.
Yes.
Fire control.
Talk about advanced weaponry. My God.
Golden Dome.
Weapons uses on something like that.
Exactly. No.
Joseph, I'm going to draw us back again to this Huntsville piece just to complete the circle. And I just want to do the crisscross on the Paperclip Huntsville part as a kind of a closing piece on this. This is fantastic. I want to go back to the scientist, Amy Eskridge, who passed away tragically in 2022. As I mentioned, she was in charge of the Institute for Exotic Science, and her dad had worked on a number of projects for NASA for years, for decades. A lot of his papers are available, and then others not so available.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the things, and she also had done a number of kind of loosey-goosey interviews before the end, in one of them saying that her family were paper clippers.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And she said also, and this is a quote, that Huntsville is the biggest secret you've never heard of.
Wow.
And we're going to reveal it. We're going to let it out.
Mm-hmm.
She said a number of odd things. One of the deaths that she pointed out was McClandish's death, and that when he had died the year previously in April of 2021.
With a shotgun, man. I'm sorry. Find something better than a shotgun, guys. I feel like we're onto something. We gotta be careful, guys. We gotta be protected. Huntsville, Alabama. We're coming for ya. Oh, man.
One, she said he had refused to go along with it or something to that degree. So it's indicating that she didn't believe the official story around McCandlish's death.
Oh, I don't either.
Yeah. And he, of course, the digital illustrator with incredible access to the Air Force, gave us the information on the Flux liner, the alien reproduction vehicle, those marvelous sketches that he put across, and his deep, deep connections. I mean, this guy was really into it. He was in Huntsville a month before giving a speech. Now, before his death. And then she comes off and she's saying, all these agents and stuff are around me all of a sudden, and people from the counterintelligence field, like the Hal Putoffs and the Lou Elizondos, they're right around in the background trying to squeeze me into these different projects and saying, we want to get to that anti-gravity stuff before China does. And so.
Man, we have Lou Elizondo again. Dude, this guy The Tsar of Guantanamo Bay. Man, this is like the worst movie. Not the worst, the best movie, but it's sad because it's real. Man, I wish he would be just into some kind of witness protection program, man. It's so sad. I mean, look at her. It's so sad, bro. So many people dying just for, you know, greediness of people trying to be competitive. It's all about power, and yeah, man.
On, and she tells some very interesting tales, including the fact that when she said, okay, I have somebody who's involved from the army who can participate in these discussions, and she has people like Elizondo and Puthoff completely ending communications the minute she said army, which I found was interesting. But in any case, she dies under suspicious circumstances after pointing out again the importance of Huntsville. We have the Moffat deaths, of course. Before that, going all the way back to a case you and I have talked about before, the case of Ning Lee and her incredible anti-gravity experiments, and then getting run over by a car and becoming basically, you know, mentally a mental vegetable as a result of that. What is it that we're looking at with this overhang? And you did touch upon it, but I want you to kind of just peer into it and tell me, what is the overhang from Paperclip now, the original bringing of the Nazi scientists into Huntsville, that incredible expanse that creates the regular space program, and as we know, the secondary secret space program, which is something that Kennedy saw as a big danger in his administration. And then, you know, getting to the moon and all the rest of it, the incredible glory around Huntsville. But there's something lurking in the back there. And she, as being part of the missing or dead scientists in this case, is pointing it out. She's giving us this hint. Well, it's all right here.
Wow. That's a question. And I've thought a lot about that question, not that specifically phrased. And I've come down to basically two speculative answers that I've kind of danced around. But I'll just come right out and say it. The first possibility is my good old friend, the Nazi International. And what I mean by that is this. If you look at its evolution in the immediate years after the war, as I said, there are certain spots, I mentioned them earlier in this interview, you know, South America. All those spots that I listed as centers of activity, Huntsville being one of them. One of the things that was commented upon by the American observers of the Paperclip Nazis within the space program, particularly in the early years before there was a NASA, when all of those Nazis are working for the U.S. Air Force, the U.S. Army, you know, and so on and so forth. During that period, the American observers, and particularly Army counterintelligence, observed that these Paperclip Nazis not only were keeping their chain of command, but they were also acting and behaving in ways that indicated that they were in touch and contact with their comrades around the world in some form or fashion. For example, Linda Hunt mentions in her book that American counterintelligence had followed the Paperclip Nazis based in El Paso across the border into Mexico, where they had dead drops in the local post offices.
Oh, right.
Okay. In addition to that, it became clear that to American counterintelligence that they had access to much more sophisticated and much wider ranging means of communication, but they didn't know what it was. I know what it was. Because Walter Schellenberger, the head of the Sicherheitsdienst, in 1944 turned over the entire Bolivar transmitter system to Juan Perón. Now, if you don't know what the Bolivar transmitter system was, it was all those shortwave radio transmitters that Nazi Germany's intelligence, the party intelligence apparatus, had spread throughout Latin America from Mexico all the way down to Argentina. So there was a network of transmitters all throughout Latin America, shortwave, that were turned over to Juan Perón, and therefore, I think, ultimately, to the post-war Nazi International. That's how they coordinate their activity. So, in other words, you have effectively elements of the SS, elements of the Sicherheitsdienst that are present as veterans throughout Latin America. They're the ones, incidentally, as we know from Henrik Kruger's book, The Great Heroin Coup, they're the ones that train the drug cartels in their security procedures. So there's a direct Nazi link to the current drug cartel problem in Latin America.
Incredible funding source.
Dude, this is what I'm saying, man. There's so much gold of information from those guys. It's insane. There's so much shit I don't know anything about. Oh my goodness, I have to do so much research. But it's gotta be awesome.
Source, there's, security training, all of that. So this organization, like it or not, is alive and well.
And would you say the Bolivar aspect could represent a kind of emergency network of communication that others can't? Yeah,
absolutely, sure. But what all this implies in terms of Huntsville is that not only did they reproduce the chain of command, they also reproduced the machinery of obedience. Yeah. Cooperate or you will die, or your family will die, whatever. We know how they operate.
Yes.
And that would be a big, bad, nasty, dark secret all of its own. So we might be watching evidence of that. The other possibility, that's possibility number one. The other possibility, which I don't think is at all in a kind of hermetically sealed compartment, untouched by the first one, okay? In other words, they can bleed into each other. The other possibility is you have what Richard Hoagland called the magicians. He had the three groups inside of NASA for Richard Hoagland in his book.
Oh, yeah, yes.
Were Masons, magicians, and Nazis. Okay.
Yes.
I think that there is, if you look at space itself, just think of the Artemis II mission and all the mythological connotations of that, particularly in terms of Egyptian mythology. Look at the name Ellen, particularly in connection to Werner von Braun's novel Das Mars Project.
Told you.
Where the hero of the Martian Federation is a guy who happens to be named Ellen. Gee, what a coincidence.
That is the Elon that's going to run Mars.
Yeah, exactly. That's the Elon that's going to run Mars. You can't tell me that this naming was not deliberate.
And he writes it and puts it out in 1949.
This is insane.
And we get this guy coming on the scene some 70 years later.
Yeah.
This is this is so insane. Like seeing this, talking about them, Project Paperclip, and the SpaceX thing is probably just like this group from before, which I forgot the name already, of this transportation thing from back in the day with Gorbachev. It's like the script is just being fulfilled, just 70 years later. The Nazis ain't dead, bro. They're still running the show, bro.
I think you have a group that has looked at the space program as an opportunity to practice real honest to goodness celestial magic of the black magic kind on a celestial scale.
Incredible.
And the reason I think that they're doing that is they, not so much that they are real genuine, Aleister Crowley occultists in the Jack Parsons Jet Propulsion Laboratory sense, but rather, you've got that element. Certainly.
True Thelemites.
Yeah, you've got. I think there probably are people like
sure,
that, but I think probably what you're really dealing with in terms of the magicians are good old-fashioned American materialists. We'll try anything just to see if, okay, let's try this way of communicating and see if there's any sort of response.
Oh, yes.
It's the old materialist. Yeah, it's the old materialist magician of C.S. Lewis that you have running a lot of these things, and that's their basic philosophy. When the actual thing shows up, then they get all nervous and worried. Oh, well, we weren't expecting that. Well, duh.
And if anything, they kill the true believers, like Parsons.
Exactly. Yeah.
When they're done with him, they're like, "Oh, just take him out in an explosion. Come on."
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
So,
and I hate to say it, I mean, is he part of the original missing scientists, dead scientist list? Yeah.
Could be. At this stage, I don't put anything past these people. So I think that's the second possibility that
wow.
Pardon me, that you might be looking at. And as I say, the two are not mutually exclusive.
Right.
You had Heinrich Himmler, and he was a full-blown occultist in the fullest sense of the word. And his immediate subordinate is Hans Kammler, and he's a thoroughgoing, practical, pragmatic guy. Like it or not, that's what he is. So it's just a very, very strange mentality, and it's all kind of nestled and nesting there in Huntsville, like it or not.
Interesting.
The bottom line, and you and I both know this, Daniel, the bottom line is you can't have an ideology as insane and nutty as Nazism and just expect it to die overnight and not be passed down. It just, that's not the way these ideologies work. They are, in the fullest sense of the word, they're cults.
Yeah.
So you're saying you're looking at generations of scientific dictatorship with the same kind of martial philosophy.
Yep.
But in these groups, I've referred to things like protecting the secrecy around the UFO file, and you're saying it's protecting the physics also.
Sure.
100%.
Sure. I mean, these kinds of ideologies don't die overnight. They just don't. We're naive if we think that they do. That's just not the nature of evil. It doesn't do that. It will find a way to propagate itself, and it will find a way to propagate its power and to continue its power monopoly. So absolutely,
wow. Incredible power center there for their activities. It's funny, I went back into the history around JFK and Huntsville just to see what his own opinions were on it. And, he shows up in Rocket City and gives a speech, but who's painfully absent is the governor. Governor Wallace does not show up to give the speech with him, which is highly unusual. And Kennedy does not comment on the politics of the day there going on, but he does speak about, the incredible things that can be accomplished with NASA and all the rest of it. But he makes sure to go there. I thought that was interesting.
Particularly at that time, absolutely.
Wow, incredible. It's fascinating. Now, I just want to say this because it's in the heart of your work, and it comes directly out of your Roswell and the Reich book. And I'm feeling this kind of Roswell, Huntsville, missing scientists overlap that is just, and it's something terribly missed when I've spoken to the mainstream. And there's a chance here. I'm speaking now with Vanity Fair. Maybe they're going to pick up on this, but I want them to get this and take these facts to the public, even in their own, commercial vein, whatever it happens to be. But if we go into Albuquerque and we see McCasland, General McCasland, Major General, going missing, Joseph On his level, especially since through the WikiLeaks emails being leaked in 2016, and we know about this, on his level, isn't that a national security crisis? The fact that he's missing?
Absolutely, it's a national security crisis, and that's what grabs me about his disappearance in particular. It's not being handled that way. And let's remember something. And this may be a bit of history that I don't know about you, Daniel, but I just get the absolute sense or feeling, intuition, I don't know what to call it, that there's some sort of profound connection between the McCaslin case and the Paul Benowitz case.
Oh, wow. Yes.
Because that also occurred in Albuquerque at the same Air Force base.
Mm-hmm.
We know that there was something going on, that the Air Force was, Richard Doty and that whole controversy with the Benowitz affair.
The UFO disinformation,
UFO
it kind of set the template for it.
Yeah,
I don't know
set
about
the
that
template for a lot of stuff. And I get the feeling that there's some sort of connection there, because Benowitz clearly was taking pictures of them testing, a laser.
Yeah.
At Kirtland using phase conjugation, optical phase conjugation.
Right.
And at that time, that's some of the most sensitive, it still is some of the most sensitive technology for directed energy weapon research. So they were going out of their way. But then out of the Benowitz affair, you have all these other stories about strange things that Greg Bishop, I think, was the guy that wrote the book.
Oh, yes.
Benowitz affair. And Greg told me on one occasion that he had been riding around the airbase and literally seen doors and things that you do not see on Google Maps displays. It's as if they're
fascinating.
Some sort of invisibility technology for some of this
incredible
stuff.
Yeah,
it's just weird, So McCaslin disappearing coming out of that airbase, I'm not buying it.
Joseph, what is the pattern? What is the pattern with them leaving behind their phones, leaving behind their glasses, leaving behind their wallets? And in some of these cases, there was a scientist up here who I think is also connected with this, named Jason Thomas, but he worked for Novartis.
Mm-hmm.
When he disappeared, he left his smartwatch in the mailbox for his wife to find. These are people, it seems like, are operating a protocol that says you're being called to this emergency meeting, leave all your possessions, leave all your electronic tracking devices behind at home.
It is a protocol. That was the first thing that occurred to me. It's a protocol to get rid of anything that might have the potential of containing any sort of tracking device or any sort of listening device on it. Just get rid of it. It's suggestive. It's highly suggestive that that's a first layer protocol, that at some point these people may have been taken to a place where their clothes were changed, their appearance changed. It may be it may be a multi-layered protocol thing that we're looking at. That's why this whole thing is so weird.
Yes.
It struck me that very same way. And the other thing that
this is what I'm thinking. This is also why I once wrote an X that I do feel like at least some of them maybe are in some kind of witness protection program going on, because not all of them are found, like McCaslin, for example. Then we have others which are supposedly dead. Sometimes I, like with Amy Eskridge and stuff, I really hope sometimes that they are not dead, because it's just so sad that people are dying all the time for this bullshit, I mean, those are good people, researching for the good things, and then there's just some weird institutions which are just like, we gotta suicide you. But yeah, man, it's a crazy time we're living in, guys. Really crazy time we're living in.
Find very weird about it, Daniel, is the kind of I don't know about you, in McCaslin's case alone, as you've pointed out, that's a national security issue. In fact, I blogged about it. I blogged about it and said basically the same thing.
Yeah.
So why is the reaction so tepid?
Yes.
It's that pot should be boiling.
No question.
And we don't see anything. There, at the minimum, you would think that there would be an occasional alert on television or radio. Have you seen this man? If so, here's the description, call such and such a number. We're not seeing any of that.
No. And he disappeared in this very tiny corridor of time between when his wife...
They didn't want it to happen, and it actually plays more into the hypothesis that it's some kind of witness protection thing, because if they would play it out big and people would maybe even get some kind of information, maybe they don't want, I mean, obviously they don't want, not maybe, they don't want people to get information on where he is. And maybe it's for his safety, This is the only thing that makes sense to me. Because otherwise, otherwise he would be just dead somewhere, found, having an accident, having, this overdose or something. But maybe he's protected by people that know they are people that want him to be depressed, or you know what I mean? Because otherwise this whole thing doesn't make sense, and especially seeing this pattern on other scientists to leaving their smartwatch and stuff. Yeah, man.
She's going to the doctor or somewhere, and she comes back within an hour. In that time, a workman at the house has seen him. So he just, in this little window, he disappears entirely, and they can't trace him at all. Nothing. That's very coordinated, it seems.
That's coordinated, and it suggests there may be another protocol in play that these people might be receiving some kind of signal.
Right.
It's time to ditch, bail out now. Meet at such and such. There's so much about this is fishy.
No question.
All right, man. We made it, guys. We made it. And this is just part one. I think there's a second part already available on his website. So I did leave all the info of both of them in the description. So if you want to look what they got, if you want to support them, follow them, give them a follow on X. Dark Journalist, follow him on YouTube. I don't know if Joseph Farrell has a YouTube account, to be honest, but give them a follow, take a look on their X. This was insanely interesting. As I said, there's a second part on the website of the Dark Journalist. I don't know if he's going to drop it on YouTube. If so, I'm definitely gonna watch it here with you guys. And man, if you enjoyed the video, if you had a good time, please subscribe to the channel, as this helps me a ton to grow and reach more people which are probably interested into the same thing, man. And then we are just looking for basically what they are looking for the truth, for this technology, for a time where we people actually get what we deserve and get rid of those greedy motherfuckers which are just doing bullshit and try to keep us in this bubble of a lack of everything. This was insanely interesting and gave me again a glimpse into a world where I don't know really much of for now, because there's so much stuff I have to look into again. This whole Nazi thing, so I have to go back in history. But we're gonna do it together anyway. So I'm not alone. Interesting. Wow. So much gold in this podcast. I really enjoyed that one. So I hope you did too, guys. If you have any recommendations on what to take a look at as well, or next time, also hit me up on X-Men. Just write me, give me a follow if you like. And let's have a chat, let's engage, and let's look for interesting things that are out in this world. But I mean, we're living in times where it's hard to keep track on information anyways. So let's see what will come out in the near future or the following days, following weeks. I'm also gonna get out videos soon, just gonna get back into the, you know, into the rhythm again. I'm still a little bit into the holiday mood, so, but yeah, anyway, good time, guys, good time. Was a pleasure meeting you guys again. I hope you all have a good day, and yeah, man, don't get sucked too much into this whole, you know, drama triangle, I would say. Just, you know, try to stay above, don't get sucked in, don't get the negative vibes, you know, stay curious and look for the good things in this world, man, because there are a lot of good things happening as well. It's just not all bad. So anyways, guys, with this, I'm gonna say goodbye. Have a good time with your loved ones, and I'm gonna see you on the next live stream, guys. Till then, guys, I'm out of here. Ciao, ciao.